Hello everyone, and welcome to another video from the Tiny Menagerie. Most fish you see in the shops are easy to live with and make perfect additions to a community tank. They're peaceful, gentle, greedy and cheap. But there are also plenty of fish out there who are just a bad choice, and yet fish shops still love to try and pass them off as suitable for a community tank. That's not to say that these are bad fish to keep. In the right circumstances they can be fascinating, nay delightful little fish, and they are some of my absolute favourites. It's just that creating the right circumstances for them to be great fish can be a little bit challenging. And so though, here are 7 fish that tend to get sold as community fish and you will probably end up regretting. Number 1. Phoenix Rasboras. Or least rasboras, or dwarf spotted rasboras, or chili rasboras, or strawberry rasboras, pretty much any of the micro rasboras. These tiny fish are wonderful. They are charismatic, shoaling, many are very brightly coloured, they are teensy tiny delights that are hardy and can be kept in a wide range of water parameters. And most of them are really easy to feed as well. And so the problem with them is given away pretty nicely by their name. Micro rasboras. These fish are all minuscule. Even a full-grown dwarf rasbora, conversely the largest of the bunch, is only going to be about 2 centimeters in length as a full-grown adult. Least rasboras only get to be 1.5 centimeters in length, and they are very slender as well. Conversely, a neon green rasbora, still a very tiny fish at about 2.5 centimeters in length, they have a much deeper body to them, and so they become a much more substantial proposition for a community tank. Micro rasboras, though, are just the perfect snack size for many typical community fish. I should imagine most of these tiny beauties get sold, disappear without a trace over a few days, and then the person who bought them just assumes it was probably the water that was off, or maybe the fish that they bought were bad quality. Maybe, but far more likely they became someone's lunch, unfortunately. Next on the list then is probably one of the most common fish sold in the hobby. They have been around for decades, and you will find them in pretty much any fish store. Silver-tip tetras are stunning, small to medium-sized fishies, and when you see them in a shoal in a large group, especially against a dark backdrop, they're almost geometric white dots on the tips of their fins. Oh, they are mesmerising to behold. And when they're youngsters and getting established, they seem like absolute model citizens, happily going about their business without being a bother to anyone at all. That's not going to last, unfortunately. In ideal conditions, when they start thinking about breeding, the males become extremely aggressive. They are very territorial towards any fish that looks even remotely like them. They will set up a little territory for themselves, and then they will defend it vigorously from anything that gets too close, and they are not messing around. Male silver-tip tetras will absolutely attack small fish with the aim of nipping chunks out of them. They will kill little fishes, basically. You may start off with a community tank. What you will end up with is a breeding ground for silver-tip tetras. And if the tank is too small and they can't get away from each other, well, then you're not going to have very many of them neither. So they're a little bit of a gamble. If you don't have perfect conditions for them, they can actually stay as quite nice community fish. But if they do want to get into breeding, well, you just might regret them a bit. In some ways, much like our next fish on the list. At first glance, the golden panchak seems to be the absolute opposite of a silver-tip tetra. They are smooth, sedate and serene. They're gently gliding up at the top of the tank with that curiously flattened head shape. They're always up there, just hanging about, looking like they're waiting innocently for some hapless invertebrate that they can snatch up. But all that gentle movement and that big mouth is a good giveaway as to their true nature. Golden panchaks are essentially ambush predators. They can move very quickly when they want to, and small fish are definitely on the menu. They will happily eat anything smaller than the width of that mouth, including many of the tiny danios like celestial pearls and dwarf spotteds, young tetras, any of the slimmer fish like neon tetras, young rummy noses for example. They all become golden panchak snacks eventually. And because golden panchaks tends to be sold as youngsters themselves, when they're only about 2 inches in length, a lot of people don't do any research and don't realise they're going to get quite a bit bigger. In fact, males can reach well over 4 inches in length, and the more they grow, well, the more of their community friends are going to end up on the menu. Good for them, I suppose. And the next fish on our list has the exact opposite problem of a golden panchax. I suppose crebensis are the easiest of all the cichlids to keep, mostly because they are really tolerant of a wide range of different water parameters, including happily living in really hard water. They're also very brightly coloured, with both males and females having a unique and equally appealing look about them. And because of their popularity, they tend to be very freely available, with most shops stocking them. And they can be an absolutely fantastic introductory species for people who are looking to keep cichlids, especially if you're looking to breed them. On the other hand, if you don't want to learn about breeding cichlids, then you might be in for a rude awakening, because crebensis are very keen to breed, even in a community tank. Basically, as long as you've got a male and a female together, they are going to pair up. Once they've done so, they will look for somewhere that they can make a nest, and if you haven't provided them with a suitable area, then they will make their own. They will simply dig under some part of the hardscape. And then, once they've laid some eggs, they will start chasing away any fish that gets too close to them. Which is bad enough, because they become a harassment for the fish in the tank. But once those fry hatch and the parents start shepherding them around the tank looking for food, then their defensive tendencies absolutely ramp up. And what you'll end up with is half the tank is occupied by the cute little family, and the other half is occupied by all the rest of your fish. And of course, to add insult to injury, you're going to need to find homes for 30 to 50 crebensis once those youngsters start to grow up. And the parents will happily raise a fresh new brood for you every 3 to 4 months. Yay! And the next fish on our list is one you don't actually see for sale all that often, certainly not in my area anyway, but you could probably substitute it for many others, and that is the black tiger baddis. And the reason they're on this list is not really anything to do with the fish itself, it's more of a dig at fish shops in general. Many fish are sold as community fish when they are actually the polar opposite of that. Some, like the black tiger, have incredibly exacting requirements. They're often wild caught rather than tank bred, and simply need a tank that a community is going to really struggle to provide for them. They are very picky eaters. In fact, they often tend to refuse to eat anything that's not live, and so they need a big, very well matured, preferably planted tank with very few other fish in it, simply because being a little wild, shy fish, you're not going to be able to compete against a bunch of Danios who are going to be roving around all over the place, hoovering up every single available morsel before a little baddis has even got there. They need a lot of hiding places, because they do tend to be shy and easily spooked into hiding. They need dim lighting over a dark substrate, otherwise they wash out all of their colours and look miserable all of the time. They need acidic water with a low TDS, quite possibly not the stuff you're going to get out of your tap. That means you need a supply of RO water, which means you need to go look at buying the kit, or you need to have it installed, or you need to have somewhere that you can buy it locally. Here is where research becomes your best friend, and knowing in advance the demanding needs of what you're actually buying is a specialist fish. And of course we all know, fish shops will happily let you buy them and keep them in a 2-foot tank with 60 denison barbs. They'll take your money and wave you out the door. And the next fish we had on our list is one I actually feel a little bit bad for including. I mean, I love you black neon tetras, I think you are beautiful little fish, but you can be a bit, boring. Sorry black neons. And this certainly doesn't only apply to black neons. Lots of tetras have quite a strong, I'll just sit here and wait for food to come to me attitude on life. Especially if you're keeping them in water that is a bit cool or a bit too hard, in which case they have no interest in breeding, and they don't need to go hunting because food does literally come to them in the form of nice little pellets or flakes. They don't need to make territories, so why move about very much? Now, if you're looking for a very serene and relaxed tank, where the focus is going to be on your beautifully crafted aquascape, then these are perfect fish, because they will add life without being a distraction. But if you want to keep fish primarily for the joy of watching fish, then you might want to consider getting something a little bit more active, or at least have a balance of fish with different activity levels. Which is a bit like the picky fish from above. It's all going to boil down to doing your research, even within the tetra ranges. Some species are much more active than others. Black neons don't move around very much. Purple emperors, on the other hand, try and pin them down. You can't even catch them out of a tank. They are zippy little things who've always got something to do and somewhere to be. And then we come to the last fish on our list, and that is wait for it. That is yeah, we're going to be here all day unless I put some food in the tank. This is Missy, my silver flying fox, who are actually only silver while they're younger. They slowly turn yellow as they get older, and they have this lovely reticulated pattern over them. And while Missy is one of my favourite fish, she's one of the very few who has a name, I very rarely see her. Him. I actually don't know the gender of this fish at all, I just assume it's a girl. And that is because she spends all day in her cave, and she only comes out if she thinks it's worth her while. Which I think is part of the reason why I like her so much. There's a bit of a spirit animal thing going on with this fish, and that is very typical behaviour though of sharky type fish, including red fins and red-tailed sharks, true flying foxes, Siamese algae eaters, and silver flying foxes. As youngsters, they tend to be out and about more in the open. As they get older though, and especially if you give them somewhere to hide, that is exactly what they will do, pretty much all day long. They like to have a territory, which is why they get less and less tolerant of each other as they age, and they like to have a burrow or a cave or a pile of rocks, something they can hide in. Which can be a little bit frustrating, especially for the darker ones, as they tend to have been bought and sold as centerpiece fish. Something that's going to be a little bit different from a cichlid though. And then the fish spends all day hiding. Not ideal, especially if you are a random YouTuber trying to make a video for every fish species in the hobby. Oh well, one day Missy, one day I will have enough footage of you to make an all about video. But that day is not today. And there you have it though, 7 potentially awful fish that are very easy to buy and very easy to regret. Anywho though, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Happy fish keeping everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye!